Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone in today's class for the 6th elementary grade. Our textbook is Weekend 3 and today inshallah we will cover Unit 8, Life's Ups and Downs Evaluation, where we're going to review the whole unit. And it will be presented by me, teacher Mazen Harbi, and the sign language by Mr. Fawaz Al-Agil. So let's begin. The first lesson we had in this unit was called the Finding Out Time, that can be seen on pages 58 and 59. And our goals were in this lesson, which is to give quick comments and also to write some sentences in the past and also to differentiate between regular and irregular verbs correctly. So these were our goals in the first lesson. So for example, when the finding out time, we did listen and practice in answering one important question, which is, what are the good and bad things happened to you last year? Where we said that if you want to answer this question, we can first need to know or need to read a couple of examples so we can share some of the things that we had, either bad or good things. For example, one of the good things is number 1. I won a table tennis game, 21-3. I won a table tennis game, 21-3. This was one of the good things we had. And also the other good thing, which is I got first place in a race. I got first place in a race. And number 3, I was team captain. I was team captain. And the fourth one, I made the rocket. I made a rocket. It's usually something good or usually good thing when you make something with your own hands. And number 5, I saw a rainbow. I saw a rainbow. Usually when we see beautiful sceneries like rainbow, this is one of the good things. So now we can go back to the first question we start with. What are the good things that happened to you last year? So after showing all of these examples, can you think of any good thing happened to you? And can you think of one and write it down? And now we will move on to the second part of our question, which is about the bad things. So let's listen to a couple of examples about the bad things, and then we can ask you again to remind you what are the bad things that happened to you last year. So number 6 here we have, which is one of the bad things is we lost a football game 8-0. We lost a football game 8-0. And number 7, I caught a cold. I caught a cold. Always getting sick is something bad. And even losing a game. When you play or you compete in a game, it's always something bad if you lose. And number 8, my dad had an operation. My dad had an operation. And usually when we see our loved ones going to hospital, this is also bad thing. And number 9, I broke my leg. I broke my leg. And also getting injured is also one of the bad things that we don't wish to happen. And number 10, we were stuck in an elevator. We were stuck in an elevator. And also getting stuck in a place or needing help where you can't get any is also one of the bad things. So now we will ask you again. Can you remember can you remember the bad things that happened to you last year? After showing these examples, so you can think of anyone, and we said that if you can think of it, you can write it down in your notebook. So After listing all of these examples, from these 10 sentences, we come up with 10 different verbs. The first one, for example, was won and got and was, made, saw, lost, caught, had, broke, and were. And we said that all of these verbs are, of course, happened in the past, but they're not called a regular verb as we learned from the previous unit. They are called irregular verbs. They are called irregular verbs. And what do you mean by irregular verbs? We mean by this that sometimes we have verbs that they have their own form of the past. Not like any other verb where we add ed, for example, to the verb, and we can say this is a verb in the past. No, here in irregular verbs, these verbs have their own past and their own form. And after this, we listened to a conversation between these two, a boy and a girl, when they say, what happened to you? And we said that if you want to ask someone about what happened in the past, then you start your question with, what happened to you? After this, you can mention the time. Maybe you can say, what happened to you yesterday? Or what happened to you last week? Or what happened to you last month? Or what happened to you last year? So here you can think of any time you are when you're using this question. So, for example, we listen to this conversation when she says, what happened to you yesterday? And he says, I won a table tennis game 21-3. And we said that what is important here, when you ask someone about what happened and he replies back, it is important that we give a comment on that thing, whether if it's a good comment or if it's a bad comment. So here, for example, one of the good comments we heard is congratulations. Congratulations, which is a good comment we usually use when someone says a good news. So also we listed a list of comments that we can use when we hear a good news or bad news. So the question here, can you listen to the answer and then make a comment? So when you ask someone about what happened to them last year or maybe in the past, then you be ready to use one of these comments. Let's start from the first one. The first comment is, and I would like you to say with me, congratulations. Congratulations. Number 2, so did I. So did I. Number 3, how nice. How nice. So number 1, 2, and 3, these are the good comments we give them when we hear good news. And number 4, sorry about that. Sorry about that. And number 5, how scary. How scary. So number 4 and 5, these are the comments we give when we hear a bad news. These are the comments we can give when we hear bad news. After this, in Grammar in Action on pages 60 and 61. Our goals were in Grammar in Action, which is to make sentences using past tense irregular verbs and also to chant past tense irregular verb chunks chant. So what we did here is that we learned in the grammar that when we practice, no matter what the subject pronoun is, we keep the verb as it is. We don't make any changes. Whether, for example, if we said I won or you won, she won, we won, you won, or they won. So no matter what the subject is, we keep the verb as it is. As you can see here, we don't make any changes to the verb. After this, we went on and listened to a chant about the irregular verbs. Let's listen one more time to this chant, and I would like you, while you listen, to say after me. So we're going first to listen to the verbs, and after this, a sentence using that verb. So let's start with number one. Number one, lost, lost. I lost a tennis match. I lost a tennis match. Number two, won, won. We won a football game. We won a football game. Number three, got, got. I got 200 points in a computer game. I got 200 points in a computer game. Number four, was, was. I was sick. I was sick. Number five, made, made. I made a tree house. I made a tree house. Number six, saw, saw. I saw a rainbow. I saw a rainbow. Number seven, caught, caught. I caught a big fish. I caught a big fish. Number eight, had, had. We had a cake. We had a cake. Number nine, broke, broke. I broke my glasses. I broke my glasses. Number 10, were, were. We were happy. We were happy. So this is the chant was about the different irregular verbs and how we use them in sentences. After this, we listen to different verbs and their irregular form. Like, for example, win, won, lose, lost, get, got, am, was, is, was also, make, made, see, saw, catch, caught, have, had, or has, had, break, broke, are, were. So these were the verbs in regular form and also in the past. And after this, we had an interesting game that is called the verb game, where we listen to different sentences the teacher says, and all you have to do is to circle the verbs that the teacher mentioned. And we did this, and these were the verbs that the teacher mentioned. So we highlight them here by underlining them, and also we write them here: made, had, caught, got, lost, were. And we said that in order to make it more interesting, you can have an empty table like this and listen to the teacher again and write down all the verbs. And we did this, and these were the verbs that we heard the teacher says. And after this, in lesson reading and writing on pages 62 and 63, where our goals were to differentiate between past and present verb forms, and also to use some and any in a context, and to chant my brother using the past tense, where we listened to this chant, which is called My Brother Khalid. And we said that after listening to this chant, we need to highlight the verbs that we can see here in the past. And we said that we have different verbs in the past in the first part, like went, got, was, and had. And also for the second part of this chant, we had also verbs in the past, like, for example, went, came, and was. And after this, we said that you can change this chant. You can change rewriting this chant. And how would you do this? By changing the verb went, got, and so on, by changing the verbs in the past to make it in the present. So this is how we differentiate between the past and the present. For example, we can change went to goes, got, gets, was, is, and had to has, and went to goes, and came to comes, and finally was to is. Will help us to learn how to differentiate between the past and the present. And after this, in challenge time, we had an interesting question. What do they cook? Where we listen to a chant and circle the words that the teacher says. So here we have, for example, when we listen to the teacher, we put a circle on the words that the teacher says. Like, for example, meat, cheese, tomatoes, macaroni, onions, and apples. And we said that this is a chant where we listen to how we make certain food, and then we circle the food. As here we have on number 4 and 5, flour, eggs, juice, and mustard. And at the end of the lesson, we said that you can change the words and rewrite the chant. Maybe to even add comment like, I think it is boring, interesting, easy, or difficult. You can use any of these phrases to make a comment. And the last lesson we had is phonics, pages 64 and 65, where we pronounce P and H, F and GH correctly and make appropriate comments. So the first lesson we had how to differentiate between these 3 sounds, like frog, fawn, and laugh. We said that even if they have different letters, but they have the same sound. And after this, we had this interesting exercise where we completed the missing letters, and then we did circle these letters here on the table. And so our words were friends, photo, elephant, and laugh. And after this, we listened to a chant about a father and his son, and we said it is important that we focus on the words that the father says. Like, for example, enough, don't laugh, I know it's tough, but it is lots of fun. And here we have the word enough, laugh, tough that ends with GH, they pronounced as the F sound. And after this, in order to understand and memorize these words, we had an exercise where we need to continue and filling in the blanks. So we had these answers for the rest of these sentences in this exercise. And finally, we had read an interesting reading text about Muhammad and what he did in a fun day with his sister and father. And we said in order to make it more interesting, we can rewrite this text by changing the pronouns we see. Example, instead of saying he drove us, we can say he drove them. Or he saw me, we can say he saw him. And here we listed a couple of sentences as an example on how to rewrite a story. So here, my dear student, we have reached the end of our lesson. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.